Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your Venus and Gemini transit talk. This is your host, the Peace Dealer, and I intend to guide you down a road of realization so that you may be enlightened to the important nature of this Venus transit. Of course, as we know, Venus in the zodiac is the direct representative of your heart. It is a planetary organ which functions through your aesthetic and tastes, and depending on the sign it is, of course, influences what you love and desire. Knowing that this is, of course, in Gemini, is going to open up a whole lot about your heart to think and talk about. Gemini, of course, which is the individual mutable sign of the zodiac, in its representation of individual thoughts and ideas and its changeable, magic, mutable nature. So, when putting Venus in Gemini, we have to take into account that it is the third individual sign as a part of an activation phase through Aries and its dignity, through its detriment in Aries and dignity in Taurus. Everything that has activated through the nodes and has also activated through the Uranian and Jupiter conjunction at the end of Taurus is now, as it does every year, initially expressing the idea around the seeds we've just sowed in our hearts and with our hearts. This transit, of course, will be through May 24th to June 17th, where we will see it travel accordingly with the sun for most of the transit. Venus in Gemini is going to bring through our hearts not only enlightenment as a firmware update relative to what we love, as of course your tastes and your interests do not stay static, and the only thing constant in life is change. So relative to the previous cycle, you are coming back around to express the effect of the ideas that will not only have you communicate what it is you love and desire, but with who you can begin to communicate these desires in your balancing of interpersonal relationships with. It's also important to note a phase like this is similar to a talking phase, where we talk to one or multiple people to see whose mindset aligns with ours, to open the doorway into further shared passion and potentially romance. That being said, we have very important and relevant transits regarding this Venus cycle. The immediate trine to Pluto in Aquarius, the Sun conjunction that's going to take place during the second decan of Gemini, and once Venus overtakes the Sun, its subsequent square with Saturn in Pisces. This is going to be followed by the sextile to Chiron in Aries, and then we will end the Venus transit with a 29-degree conjunction to Mercury directly square Neptune. As, of course, we open up the transit, Venus in its trine to Pluto is not just making a 120 degree angle to Pluto 1 degree Aquarius. It is integrating the previous 0 degree conjunction that Venus had with Pluto in the beginning of Aquarius. This marked at an extraordinary supernatural level and quality an awakening of your heart collectively with everyone else and everything else in the universe, which sowed the seeds towards a new era of linking and awakening of societal and humanitarian themes, and how this begins to update the frame of how you communicate about what you love, and how there is a much more supernatural quality to the awakening of your heart. The square in Taurus initialized this integration, taking those seeds and on the fertile ground of values in Taurus break through the ground. And so the 120-degree angle with Venus that will be followed by Jupiter, which will expand what Venus has polished in its place, is streamlining a creativity and intense flow, so that this definition of new heart's desires coming in with the new moon in Gemini is highly influenced by the social collective themes that are currently awakening humanity over the next 20 years. The Leo signature of this Venus not only integrates a supernatural level of creativity so that you can polish in your vocabulary and lexicon the direct experiences that reflect how you are expanding your mind, but also open up nuances of different types of relationship constructs, or take existing relationships and open up literally a whole universe of humanitarian and sociological themes, taking the collective of Aquarius and fueling it through the individual mind and thought of Gemini. This transit is not only very important, but it is in a long line of precedents that will be established moving forward. And once again, a huge reason why this is very important is going to be reflected in now post the 90-degree square, which had to adjust you out of an old comfort zone in light of awakening new supernatural quality, how you will be able to fuel this by now communicating it and quite literally adding life to the words you speak. All right. I want to really look at the distinction between the square and Taurus that has to shift you out of an old foundation, like you're riding a new bicycle that's now a motorbike with greater technology. As you can see, the Uranus conjunction that Venus had innovating this comfort zone, so that now that it's trining in Gemini, you can now, with this balance, step into new creativity, reach that max speed, coming into, of course, what it is that is integrating. This is also going to have you open up more courage, speaking about things you love to do, unique and eccentric to you, that might go against old tradition or may not be generally accepted in society, similar to how psychology was seen as a pseudoscience before reluctantly being accepted into being a mode of therapy and science. All right. The next transit, of course, we have is going to be the conjunction of the sun, as Venus through the second decan will be traveling with the sun as it slowly overtakes it. This is a very significant once in a year cycle that predictably and faithfully, as long as the sun travels along its ecliptic path in the intersection of the Earth's equator, will happen. Science. And relative to this science, this 11-degree 0-degree conjunction, meaning that between the 11-degree Venus and 11-degree Sun, there's a 0-degree between them, a 0-degree orb. This is planting new seeds, which is important to note. The last conjunction we had was in Taurus. Now we're extending and applying these values to communicate with more confidence that Jupiter is expanding. It is a great period to really be clear on what you think not just love, but interpersonal relationships should be practiced through you freely communicating this. And of course, this cycle will begin to integrate once Venus squares the sun and then opposes the sun throughout the rest of this cycle. So we definitely, especially in tandem with the sextile it is making to the North Node and Moon in Aries, want to examine what you are initializing. Venus on the sun is going to birth a new idea that Mercury in its subsequent conjunction in Gemini will wrap your brain around. It is an auspicious period to willfully begin new friendships, relationships, to invest in money or invest your money and ideas into resources that will expand. All right. And of course, to establish this new awareness with the sun of the truth of your heart. As mentioned, with the sextile to the moon in the North Node, this angle provides this initialization of perspective to now appropriately with the moon help you understand the authentic direction with Mars you are continuing to take in order to establish this individual mission. The clarity of this air with the awareness and enlightenment of the sun in Gemini clears the air so that you can prepare in Cancer to apply that perspective cardinally and move forward. And that's what brings us to the opening square of Saturn. As Venus will slowly overtake the sun, as it does travel quicker relative to the Earth, the 90-degree square of Venus to Saturn in Pisces, relative or similar to Pluto, is going to begin to integrate the conjunction of the previous Venus-Saturn in Pisces cycle that we have not had for 30 years since 95. This is huge. This is establishing once again the change of old precedents and traditions that have been heavily adapted and adopted since the 90s. Saturn in Pisces, of course, is sponsoring the end of the world and society as we know it, especially with Neptune that hasn't been here since the 1800s. And with Venus making this 90-degree square, the lesson of the Pisces conjunction was to establish new beliefs around, with Venus, what you believe relationships with people should be like. It's very important that I stress Venus is going to include romance, but it speaks more of the interpersonal relationship dynamics with its rulership of Libra and value with its rulership of Taurus, more than strictly just romance. The way you'll be communicating with people in giving and receiving the experience reflecting your identity will begin to integrate the thought process that will be the fourth house 90-degree home space of beliefs that when it was in Pisces you sowed the seeds for are breaking through the ground with the sun and Mercury's awareness wrapping your brain processing around how much more truly you communicate these beliefs. This is one of the most major and important transits of not only Venus's cycle, but subsequently Mercury and even Jupiter, which conjuncted Saturn in Capricorn 2020. So this mutable square we're experiencing here is game-changing and shifting the way we think in an effort to integrate newly defined thoughts post the new moon that align with beliefs, existing beliefs we have established since March. Okay? And this is where the challenge of adjusting your perception so that what you're communicating aligns with these beliefs, or that certain beliefs must change in light with the sun of new truth and information that shifts what you previously believed. Major breakthroughs will prepare to integrate through this transit with the concentration of this stellium in Gemini. This, of course, will lead into the sextile of Chiron in Aries, which, when Venus was in Aries, initialized a new yearly cycle. Similar to many of the outer planets, trans-Saturnian, with which orbit the sun after Saturn, these planets move slow. Chiron, which is in between Saturn and Uranus, takes a few years to move through a sign. And so, ever since Chiron entered Aries, Mercury, like the sun, and Venus, every time they conjunct Chiron, initialize at increasing degrees cycles with which we update how much more vulnerability in Aries we can heal around our heart. Very important, because when we look at Chiron and Venus together, it can allude to true love when you're dealing with an acceptance, in this case, of your own self, being willing to love the vulnerable facets of your own ego that you may either not be the most proud of or you are healing from. Literally authentic original heart healing that through Taurus manifested the quality of, as soon as it hit 30 degrees of the 20-degree conjunction, give or take, and now that it's making and enacting the 60-degree angle, this is opening the doorway to bring vocal expression to these seeds you sowed relative to this year's firmware update of, at an increasing third decan passionate mastery 22 degrees, what you are proud of healing and how your interpersonal relationship dynamics activate this expression of the vulnerability of your ego, with which takes what used to be weaknesses and turns them into strengths through the expression of how you also communicate this through your abilities. It cannot be overstated the importance of a sextile like this, because now with the air element of Gemini, this is not only going to allow you to communicate post-Taurus season, adding the foundation of values you're confident on in order to do so, but also put you in a powerful position in order to, with that 60-degree sextile on its way to be 90 degrees in Cancer, which will begin to integrate your feelings about this greater depth, the necessary enlightenment and perspective needed to draw forward this power, this healing power, with Venus through your heart, with Mercury through your brain, and your awareness through the sun that has been effectively activated. And of course, that's going to close with Mercury conjuncting Venus at the very end of Gemini. This is one of the other most important Venus transits we are having in Gemini, as this brings to a close the Gemini chapter updated 2024 of, relative to Saturn bringing in an end with the cycle, Pluto since the 1700s bringing in a new era over the next 20 years, what at a final complete mastered level you're not only communicating, but you have established this truth. This is what you will continue to integrate as you apply this perspective towards deeper feeling in Cancer. If you are now coming to the realization that this is what you think love should be like and relationships should be like, you're going to feel in that direction and gain greater depth. You want to think of Taurus and Gemini like drawing the lines, and then Cancer and Leo is filling it in with depth and color. So Mercury is very key post the new moon that we want to see here, with the moon that will be trining in Libra, integrating the previous new moon a week and a half prior. Mercury post the sun is taking the activation of your brain through this amazing epiphany, and it is wrapping your mind around your heart. So now that the information you have been processing that has been catching up to your awareness and heart is now aligned with which, in full unison, can communicate with true clarity the mastery and pinnacle of not only what's true. This is going to really lead up to a huge epiphany and forever change the way that with the Neptune square, you completely disillusion yourself out of old, outdated beliefs that, once again, in light of new information, you won't only be communicating, but with the moon in Libra, you will understand how to express these ideas that balance your understanding with others relative to what you individually move forward with. I can't necessarily, once again, overstate the importance of this 29-degree conjunction. This is generationally disillusioning, and any type of beliefs that may still have you chasing over people, romantic or platonic, or giving your power and energy away, this is going to help you understand the truth of ideas that support new beliefs you can move forward with. And I can say confidently, will quintessentially change forever the way you approach relationships. In now referencing the Neptune Pisces series, Neptune entered Pisces 2012. And so since 2012, which really brought in this whole influencer fraud saga, and all sorts of other narratives that could keep us clouded in a fog of mystery, but at its best help us see beyond the physical through our imagination, has, with every conjunction Neptune has made with the Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Venus through these personal planets, activated cycles that, as they squared, opposed, and third quarter squared, updated and completed before they conjunct again. Now that Neptune is reaching the final degrees of Pisces, with which coming into next year it will inch into Aries and begin a whole new era, we call this the final fantasy, the likes of which we haven't seen since literally the 1800s. And given Neptune's 160 or so year cycle through the zodiac, the series this year and next year of the Sun that has conjuncted Neptune this March 17th will be drawn out all the way until December 18th, where the Sun will be squaring it in Sagittarius, completing the harvest of the seed sown to, at the final mastered pinnacle level, see our dream into reality. Albeit this isn't about just making dreams real. The whole purpose of this Neptune transit throughout years worth of cultural change and narratives is to stretch our imagination so that we can believe beyond anything we believed before, through the good, the bad, and the ugly. For the purpose of this Venus and Gemini transit, we're going to look at the promise of love, the Venus cycle in relation to this Neptune Pisces series. April 2nd was where we had the recent Venus conjunction to Neptune, and November 9th is where the cycle we began April 2nd is going to complete, where we will see the meaning of what seeds we sowed. And in looking into that, this opening square that is occurring around the 16th of June is going to take what we initialized April 2nd, where Venus was 27 degrees on the 27-degree Neptune Pisces. Well, now that 90-degree square is breaking through the ground the true desire and the true awareness with the Sun here that will begin to integrate this promise of the heart. Mind you, we do this every year. And relative to Neptune and Pisces since 2012, we've been doing this every year since 2012. So you want to see this as a firmware update that updates your beliefs relative to this lesson. So this is very key because we're doing this at a 29-degree mastered level. 29 degrees covers all the bases and comes into the final realization where at this point you're more understanding of ever of your heart's true desires, which disillusions you massively to any illusions or rose-tinted glasses you may have applied towards situations. We're now moving towards Virgo. We can really align based in reality how facets of our imagination can be made real. And it's this integration of what is true about your heart and its desires that will open the way of communication moving forward for you to socially integrate with other people these individual ideas. The opposition, however, is where things get really real. And now, whereas we were integrating this heart's promise, we are beginning to harvest from August to November your heart's promise. An opposition like this takes the past 12 years worth of harvest and completes this Neptune Pisces cycle. Once Neptune goes into Aries, the harvest will now happen when Venus is in its dignity in Libra, which now brings a new set of cycles. But relative to this cycle that we are concluding since the 1800s, this is coming into a full mastery, the detailed analysis of exactly how to reflect the beliefs and the ideas about your interpersonal relationships really in reality. And we also have to open up the trine that Venus is likely making to Pluto relative to what we began in Gemini, because those ideas that we had in Gemini are now completely being acted on socially and polished towards other people. This is actually going to be a great period to see how your development with other people fully reflects all the lessons you've learned and integrated and put all together so that you are coming into a tangibility of what in Pisces was a belief and Gemini was but just an idea. Finally, with the closing square in Sagittarius season, this will begin to complete your heart's process. The opening square in Gemini, in integrating these ideas, opens the door up to how these beliefs may begin to truly come to pass. And the harvest takes that idea into the reality of this. So after, of course, harvesting the experience of what your dream looks like, or how your dream really expresses itself, once we complete this, Venus will now show you the higher meaning of what it is you've accomplished relative to the work put in to integrate and harvest through your interpersonal relationships the final fantasy of the promise of your heart. This is going to complete the vision that your heart has had and give you an awareness of what it means. And it will also ascend your heart's desire, which is even more powerful concerning that the ruling planet of Jupiter will be opposite this, buffering the evolution cycle that we had with Jupiter conjunct Venus 29 degrees Taurus, now making its 180-degree opposition to begin to harvest this sense of evolution and expansion to see even further beyond what you previously believed. That being said, that explains this heart enlightenment arc through Venus and Gemini, where you will establish your heart's truth, that you can move forward confidently communicating as you integrate it with people who align or challenge it. This is going to polish your vocabulary and the way you think around relationship themes that will now extremely open more that you're open to experience or draw more boundaries, enabling you to express what your heart truly desires with less inhibition than before. A whole host of nuances between platonic and romantic communication will definitely open up through this Venus and Gemini transit, and is the best time to speak up and share your thoughts about your relationships with others in an effort to direct it towards deeper waters as it goes into Cancer, or to just bring up things that need to be spoken about. This will help change your ideas about interpersonal relationships, as over the next 20 years, Pluto will be awakening humanity. I hope you enjoyed this PowerPoint, and we are going to move forward in order to break down what this transit will mean for your sign, whether sun sign or rising, natal or progressed. Welcome, Aries, Aries suns, Aries risings, natal progressed. Venus will be transiting the third house. Aries suns and moons, this will be making a 60 to 90 degree angle from your Aries sun or moon. This opens up expression of your mindset and attitude, polishing how much more beautiful you can express your skills and abilities. This is going to, of course, express the activation through Aries and the manifestation of the quality of your identity through Taurus to now express the general mindset around both of these two attributes. This is going to integrate once Venus enters your sixth house in Virgo, taking abilities activated here and through repetition and consistency, integrating this into your behavior. Before we integrate the behavior of your sixth house, we are activating the attitude of your third house. This will be a very magical period to develop current and existing skills and abilities, and through the third house of immediate environment, gain a lot of valuable intel and information from people who you communicate around you. It's also very important to establish that the square Venus will be making with Saturn and Neptune from your 12th house takes the activation of subconscious beliefs in March and begins to now create a working attitude and mindset with which you can put words and ideas to add more truth and reality to your beliefs. The challenge of that third to the 12th, in light of now upgrading and expanding this mindset, is to, in the light of this clarity and consciousness, be willing to release old beliefs that may have you self-sabotage or do not align with the truth of what you're experiencing, while simultaneously being willing to change enlightened ideas or ideas you currently have to enlighten ones which align with the system of beliefs that make up your self-concept and belief in yourself. This is especially going to be experienced as the Aries North Node, Mars, and Chiron placements get sextiled by Venus and Gemini, taking this activation of the personal mission and destiny you are leading by embodying this authenticity and originality, and now polishing the voice of these original ideas that make up more of the definition of who you are. I hope you enjoy this transit and you stay blessed. Welcome, Taurus, to your Venus and Gemini transit talk. Venus in Gemini will, as a Taurus rising, be in your second house of finances and self-esteem. As a Taurus sun or moon, this will be making a 30 to 60 degree semi-sextile angle to these placements. This is going to apply the natural ground and foundation of values that you embody and or express to produce the effect of such through the value of your communication and the value of what you're communicating, as well as the thoughts you have which enlighten you to the nature of your self-esteem. In other words, money, lots of money, especially with Jupiter, that's going to be expanding your thought process around how much you're worth, which you will see throughout the rest of the year as a definite increase of funds. The last time I had Jupiter transit my second house as a Taurus rising was around the period coming into, I want to say, February of 2014, as Jupiter moved beyond there, was when I created my online store, with which since then, over the past decade, I've made, a good independent income. I would say over like $500,000. And I'm only sharing that because everyone else who has had this aspect has noted increased financial success. And as this comes back around to evolve what work you've done the past 12 years, the trine Pluto in your 10th house will be having to Venus in the second, in light of the construction through 2021 that Saturn has established authority in your career collectively, is going to come back around to reflect this awakening of what more potential is possible to break past old glass ceilings, and of course polish how much more value you can manifest. Of course, with Gemini as the element here, your affinity Taurus, this is going to be through your words, which are gold. How in communicating your value or making product or services that also streamline this true communication to add to your abundance. What we also want to see here as well is this nature and quality of now not only the evolved thought process around what it is you are establishing through this, but more importantly, how powerfully, or let's say magically, you will, during this period, come into a position to come up with very brilliant ideas about how to directly manifest more money, resources, and value. All right. The square that Neptune and Saturn are making from your 11th house of friends and network, the dream team, to your second house is aligning who in your corner invests and values you and what you have. You want to make sure that you're valuing yourself isn't so much that you cannot listen to wise advice from people in your corner, but you also want to make sure that people in your corner do not inhibit you from expressing the value you know you have. This will adjust both perspectives in order to align those who support you to feel that support and invest in your value. All of which, once these planets are in Sagittarius, you will harvest these investments into investments towards others and investments from others, seeing the meaning at the end of the year of everything that you have established through this value. And in its sextile to the Aries 12th house planets and asteroids, this is going to, of course, reflect through your confidence how the actions you're taking in Aries, unconscious to you, are uplifting you out of old doubts and sabotage. Unlocking the power of these beliefs to reflect in the wealth that you're going to be enjoying throughout the rest of the year. I hope you enjoy. Welcome, Gemini, Gemini rising, Gemini moon, to this Venus in Gemini transit. Venus will be in your first house as a Gemini rising, and if you have a Gemini sun or moon, will be making a 0-degree conjunction with these placements. Venus is a very amazing function and planetary organ that represents beauty, given the heat with its proximity and orbit around the sun. Venus entering a zodiac sign passes the torch of beauty to develop and polish the element and nature of that archetype. Through your awareness with the sun, through your understanding and soul with the moon, inner beauty, and through your appearance with the rising, natal or progressed. So this is going to do a really great job of updating your beauty, updating fashion, style, and aesthetic, but having you glow from a much more truly enlightened authenticity and, once again, beauty through yourself and words and ideas. Venus just being in the sign will attract a lot more eyes towards you and is a really great period to put yourself out in ways with which you want positive attention. It's also very significant as you are restarting this cycle in your sign, as this will have you identify with these core values of beauty that, similar to a firmware update relative to every year this happens, adjusts just like you grow every year. So with Jupiter and subsequently Mercury, that will wrap its mind around this development and expression and activation of true beauty. Beauty, Venus, Gemini, true. Venus, Gemini, true beauty. This is going to introduce a new era of the way you express your words and ideas, and how much more comfortable you in your skin you are with it. Hence, the trine of Pluto is going to be awakening celestial philosophy around your angelic being, which will challenge postmodern narratives and theories scientifically about your own biology and identity. This is also going to smooth over the rough patches of construction that's happening, as Jupiter will be expanding your mindset and self-definition. So the square that with Neptune and Saturn, which will be had from your 10th house in Pisces of career to your first house, is having you experience the change of your identity relative to seeing a shift in your career and goals. Saturn maintaining the integrity of authority through tests and challenges with which to maintain said authority relative to the activation in March of the beliefs you had around what success means to you, is going to reflect 90 degrees through Gemini, and you now becoming more of the person that aligns with what you believe success means to you. And this is going to be a checkpoint coming into Virgo season in September, where now you will allocate this career success into your home and private life. The support that you will gain from authentic friends with the Aries position 300 degrees from you or in your 11th house will mobilize authentic actions from yourself with the right people, and mobilize the right people to now influence what it is you define yourself as through these experiences, and how much more confident you will be expressing your ideas that with Venus will not only add more polish and beauty to, but can set up through the end of the year tantalizing potential relationships, both romantic and platonic, the more you stay true to yourself. I hope you enjoy, Gemini. Welcome, Cancer, to your Venus in Gemini transit talk report. Venus will be falling in your 12th house as a Cancer rising. If you have your Sun or Moon in Cancer, this will be making a 330 to 360 degree Pisces signature angle to these points. The 12th house is a very misunderstood house, and especially for you risings, but also the Sun and Moons. The 12th house represents the final chapter of reasoning that through our mindset in the 3rd, our routine and behavior in the 6th, and our philosophy in the 9th house comes back around to influence our beliefs in light of experimentation, analysis, and interpretation. This is going to, with Jupiter, expand your spiritual beliefs to make obsolete old beliefs that may have kept you hidden in the shadow of your subconscious and may have inhibited and held you back. This final chapter relative to the previous Jupiter cycle and Venus cycle last year is changing your mindset and ideas so that you can move forward in Cancer with a new feeling about yourself. So this is going to polish and add clarity to subconscious thoughts around who you believe yourself to be and what you believe is happening, to mediate overthinking, to make you aware of unconscious habits and behaviors, with which now, with the square, Saturn and Neptune will be making to this 12th house, will adjust beliefs around your philosophy and the power and integrity of your interpretation of reality through your imagination to align with the private thoughts you think so that they're not getting in the way. You don't want to believe that you're successful, but then have subconscious thoughts and beliefs that nothing ever works right for you. Any incongruence with these angles will be brought up with the sun in your 12th, bringing light to this unconscious house so that they could be adjusted. And that anything which reinforces these beliefs may be maintained. The 12th house is a bit supernatural as well, as this represents a metaphysical quality of the intangible sense of you that exists through your imagination, and in Gemini, your thoughts. And so that 9th house square of philosophy to the 12th house square of beliefs will really expose a lot of how you not only get in your own way, but or how maybe other people may use deception to cause you to doubt yourself if you are not the one doubting yourself or using that doubt subconsciously to be voiced through other people. Regardless, this will help you practice surrender, as with the 12th house, you are releasing old habits, and Venus, as it will come back to Sagittarius later in the year, will take this unlocking and releasing of old habits as you create new habits that you see you're meant to live and integrate. The sextile between Chiron and the North Node and Mars in your 10th house of career, unlocking success you're individually taking to gain this next level of authority, will also influence the idea around old beliefs you will no longer have in light of more success that's getting ready to change the way you will feel about yourself once Venus, the Sun, and Mercury go into Cancer. I hope you enjoy this transit. Welcome to your Venus and Gemini transit talk, Leo. Venus will be falling in your 11th house as a Leo rising. And if you have your sun or moon in this sign, it will be making a 300 to 330 degree Aquarius signature angle to these points. This represents the network of friends and associates that with Jupiter is currently expanding how much more you can communicate with like minds. Venus comes through to polish the nature and quality of friends you can not only establish this with, but also share success with, as the 11th house is the rewards of your career. And relative to the 10th house revolution of established precedents that through your legacy you will be impacting for the rest of society, Venus is going to polish very beautifully who you are meant to achieve this success with and who aligns with your thoughts and ideals. All of this will subsequently prepare for the 12th house Cancer transit to release old feelings around what you believe. However, this is going to be a fantastic period to experience an initial sense of success from everything since 2018 you have been working towards with Uranus in your 10th house of legacy. The square that Saturn and Neptune from your 8th house of trust and other people's money with your 11th house of network and friends will help mediate trust issues that have broken out from March up until now. The boundaries you've drawn in the 8th house will be tested to see how well the quality of your friendships are. If you're experiencing trust issues, this will enable you to adjust these 8th house boundaries in a way that secures your friendships. Whereas positive friend interactions will now adjust how much deeper intimacy in the 8th house in Pisces you will have to enjoy relative to the work done to maintain said boundaries. So this is going to be an initial experience of not only success, but once your money house in Virgo gets activated, how this influence and support converts into cash, money, 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 value, and self-esteem. The sextile of the 9th house, Chiron, and Mars, in connecting with your 11th house, brings enlightened perspective relative to the direction you are exalting your philosophy around who you are. And who in your corner speaks to that, challenges that, and also affirms that in ways that develop more growth. So, this season and Venus transit is going to influence a very beautiful activation of new friendships and an evolution of existing friendships that will drive home this true experience of what success truly means to you. I hope you enjoy this, Leo. Welcome, Virgo, to your Venus and Gemini transit talk report. Venus will be in your 10th house as a Virgo rising. And if you have a Virgo sun or moon, this will make a 270 to 300 degree angle with those points. Relative to 2016, when Jupiter was in your sign, it has now made a 270 degree journey after activation through the initial 3 years, integration through the next 3 years, and now harvest through the final 3. You are getting ready over this final 3, rather, to complete this harvest, to take 9 years worth of evolution and now change and expand the nature of how much more you can get your word and ideas individually out there, and expand the capacity for success you can achieve all throughout the rest of this year into next year. Venus is going to now do her part to polish this desirability and quite literally beautify your achievements. Venus in the 10th house, predictably, especially through case study, shows how putting yourself out there during this period with the goddess of beauty literally attracts more attention. And this is going to decorate and color accolades with which can bring not only so much more success, but position and frame previous successes that you can move forward to communicate with, as this 10th house stellium is bringing in the winds of change to forcefully move you forward into milestone victory after milestone victory. And when you understand that this isn't just happening out of nowhere, and this is a culmination of a successive series of cycles, this is what's going to enable these winds of change to feel so much more rewarding. The square Saturn and Neptune will be having in your 7th house of partnerships to your 10th house of legacy and career will test the integrity and authority you apply towards other people, and how well other people you relate with add to the success you're coming into or take away. Remember, the 7th house, or the 180 degree opposition from your Virgo sun and moon, is a point of open enemies as well as agreements and partnerships. When compromise is available, it's an agreement. When it isn't, it is an open enemy. So any criticism, lies, false narratives, challenges towards you are going to be tested relative to the establishment of the success, so that this, through the integrity of beliefs you are applying towards other people, which since 2008 initialized with the Saturn cycle there, so you're beginning to harvest this development through how you raise the standards in your partnerships, will reveal how said partnerships secure greater success. No, true success. And with that being said, the 8th house sextile between Chiron and Mars, dealing with other people, and the 10th house will provide clarity and perspective for what actions and decisions need to be made and what boundaries need to be drawn to protect your interests, investments, and transform you more rapidly into this direct experience of success that 3 months from now during your sign will integrate, and 6 months from now will harvest in allocating that success to expand the meaning of your home space, private life, and of course the hidden meaning you reveal as a critic. I hope you enjoy this Venus in Gemini. Welcome, Libra, to your Venus in Gemini transit talk. Venus will be falling in your 9th house. And if you have a Libra sun or moon, it will be making a 240 to 270 degree angle to those points. This brings to the light of truth the meaning of your philosophy updated relative to the previous events since last year, October. Given that your 3rd house of attitude and mindset is represented by ascended Sagittarius, which produces a visual nature in the way you can show people the meaning of your ideas, harvests and completes itself in the communication of this philosophical integration of your mindset, and a true representative of why Libra represents fairness and justice. The philosophical outlook of a just, balanced, and fair society is one that sees into the light and meaning of truth. The 9th house visual of truth is what enables those scales to be balanced. And with the North Node opposite you in Aries, this is unlocking this social awareness with the sun and understanding with the moon and embodiment with the rising of how you direct this intelligence towards unlocking authenticity in an original direction with other people. The sextile at Mars, the North Node in Chiron in your 7th, which is unlocking healing and exposing an authenticity in your relationships, and of course promoting authenticity in how you connect with others, is going to influence the perspective through Gemini of what you see is not only true and fair, but now over the next year expands your philosophical approach towards what you believe and how you integrate that in your socializations with other people. The trine that Pluto in your 5th house of creativity is making to Venus and Jupiter will expand and polish the nature of how the creativity you are extraordinarily and supernaturally integrating will be given more voice, as the 9th house is a house of teaching. As such, it's not uncommon when Jupiter transits this for one to upgrade their higher education, learn another course, teach a course, but mainly expand the philosophy with which integrates their behavior and adds more organization to their attitude, ascending it once again to the light of truth. This will not only greatly change the way you communicate with people and show them your vision, but it will also prepare for the 10th house Cancer transit that applies this perspective into the direction you take into your legacy, career, and success. So Venus is going to polish the way you show people, how you practice what you preach. And in its beautification, the square that it will make to Saturn and Neptune in your 6th house of lifestyle, imagineering your dream life, will now make sure that the discipline in your routine you are instilling aligns with the philosophy with which you can communicate, breaking through elements that you've integrated into your behavior totally, so that, once again, not only can you walk your talk, but you can begin to show other people the truth of changes that are already beginning to bear fruit into the dream life you are creating. You must adjust your perception if elements of your philosophy clash with how you live your life, and adjust your routine to make sure that it aligns with this new, budding, and expanding philosophical approach. I hope you enjoy this transit. Welcome, Scorpio, to your Venus in Gemini Transit Talk Report. Venus will be in your 8th house as a Scorpio rising. And for those of you with Scorpio suns and moons, it will be making a 210 to 240 degree angle to these points. The 8th house represents other people's money and resources. This is opposite your 2nd house, which is your money, resources, and confidence. That in Sagittarius represents the fire you manifest, but more specifically, as an embodiment or spirit or soul of wisdom, it represents the meaning of an experience that your wisdom manifests to show you the bigger picture. This is your value. This is your currency. You invest this vision into other people's thoughts who see your vision and add to its value. So relative to last December and this June, this is expanding the pool of wealth that you will continue to come into as this wraps around back to December. And relative to the seed sown with other people and who you trust with your ideas, this will come back around to return on your investment through September and then again December. That being said, Jupiter all year will expand how much more you can trust based on how much more you trust yourself with other people. And Venus is going to polish these investments, but also serve as the results of your 7th house partnerships that Jupiter and Uranus have both revolutionized since 2018 and evolved since May of 2023. The quality that has been expanded that adds more value in relationships as you bring so much more to the table in a relationship is going to expand the effects produced from this with how much more enlightened the boundaries you draw are based on others who don't respect your vision and value, as well as those who can multiply your investments with your ideas in them, and also potentially add greater intimacy into how much deeper you can communicate with those who you trust, thus bringing in the Saturn and Neptune square to your 5th house of creativity and confidence in Pisces. The 2nd house is more a natural sense of confidence. The 5th house is a courageous sense of confidence that takes your value in the 2nd and has the courage to express it in the market, on stage, through your creativity. And so the 8th house is going to challenge who you trust with these creative definitions and mastery with Karma and Neptune, transcending the imagination around how much more divinely creative you can be. You'll find that the less confidence you have in yourself, the less you're going to be able to protect yourself from others who may wish to take advantage of what you got. An adjustment of perception will be necessary to honor both, so that you can make sure you can deepen this intimacy while strengthening the nature of your creativity, which through this 8th house of transformation will provide greater success as we move through July in Cancer and direct that feeling of philosophy before we establish that success in Leo in the 10th house. And the sextile between Chiron and the North Node in your 6th house of routine and behavior, which is unlocking a more original, authentic, passionate lifestyle that is aligned with you relative to 9 years ago, where you began to unlock unconscious habits and who you're with. This is going to provide perspective through who you can trust to make sure that these engagements don't get in the way of your behavior and routine, but align and, of course, push them forward. I hope you enjoy this transit. Welcome, Sagittarius, the Zodiac's favorite terrorist. I hope you enjoy this Venus and Gemini report. Venus will be in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and agreements, as well as open enemies, ops, as a Sag rising. And as a Sag sun and moon, it will be making a 180 to 210 degree angle to these points. Meaning, Venus will be polishing the true perspective that you possess through other people, for other people, and about other people. Since 2019, you have begun an evolution cycle, evolving the vision of yourself as a collective embodiment or spirit of the vision of the world and the universe, the higher philosophical mind, so that through activation from 2019 to 2022 and an integration from 2022 to 2024, you are now ready to harvest over the next 3 years, 6 years of personal evolution of your identity, values, attitude, private life, creativity, and tying it all together from January to May of 2023 of your routine, or rather, May of 2023 to May of 2024. This is going to create an expansion of leveling up all your partnerships and everything you bring to the table in a partnership. And so Venus is so wonderfully auspicious to relate with others who match you, but also be challenged by others who frustrate what it is you desire, making it more clear of what it is you want. This is actually going to be very rewarding for those of you who want to establish new partnerships, even if they start off as friendships, or even if you're just communicating to get to know new people. Any proactivity on your part, especially with the sextile of Mars and the North Node in your 5th house of creativity, will allow for passionate success and enable you to move forward with the truth of who you should communicate these agreements with. And this is where, should this show up in the form of open enemies, you want to be open to this challenge so that the words said against you can, of course, be countered by the meaning with which, aligned in integrity, you establish. Once again, especially with Mercury that will now wrap around communication towards this portal, the name of the game for the rest of the year is expanding your partnerships. And not only who you're with, but what a true partnership looks like and means to you. The square that Neptune and Saturn in your 4th house of home and private life making to your 7th house of relationships will challenge the authority and discipline you are sustaining and establishing in your private world, which can secure work from home opportunities, by the way, or greater real estate deals if you're into real estate or copping property, will test whether the new relationships or the existing relationships you have can support private issues and lessons you're going through. Namely, who can you trust with your life behind closed doors? Who are you meeting that you can trust with private concerns or news you have? And how are you integrating what you are working on in your home with the people you're relating with? Any difficulty to balance the two will be brought up and must be adjusted appropriately. However, the promise of love for you will integrate a lot of what you believe this foundation should be and how powerfully you and magically you'll be communicating this moving forward, especially with the new moon that will activate a new cycle blessed by your ruling planet to really expand the nature, quality, and magic that you will be facilitating with others so you can move forward with evolved relationships. I hope you enjoy this transit. Welcome, Capricorn, to your Venus in Gemini transit talk report. Venus is going to fall into your 6th house of behavior and routine and lifestyle and pets as a Capricorn rising. And if you have a Capricorn sun and moon, it will be making a 150 to 180 degree angle to those placements. Venus will polish the dust off of impending construction that throughout the rest of the year and next year will quintessentially level up your life. You are upgrading your entire routine. And relative to 2020, where you began this evolution cycle, this will begin to integrate and bring together everything you have evolved relative to your identity 2020, your values in Aquarius 2021, your attitude in Pisces 2022, your comfort zone 2023, the first 5 months, and then of course your creativity and the values around it in your 5th house in Taurus. Now Gemini is going to put all of that together to expand the ideas and enlightenment around a routine and lifestyle that you can build before this goes into your 7th house, and you now expand how you integrate your behavior with other people, thus leveling up your partnerships. And so Venus is going to take the new habits that the new moon in Gemini will activate, and in polishing them, add beauty. You do this every year. You're updating it relative to these themes. That being said, it's a really great time to be conscientious about your health and what needs to change about your current routine and behavior to align with the Imagineering being done to add authority to your attitude, influenced by your imagination and any extrasensory abilities that may flourish as a result. Saturn and Neptune in your 3rd house of mindset, attitude, and immediate environment is going to be making it square with Venus in the 6th house of lifestyle. I do enjoy this square because it is the square between experimentation and analysis. And it is the science of how what you think about in your mindset eventually becomes a habit. There is a revolution of true habits throughout the rest of this decade that will automate and make very efficient the way you live your life. And the revolution in your 5th in Taurus was the foundation of creativity and values you stand on, with which you're going to apply this grounded creativity to change your routine, as there's so much richness and innovation with which, compared to the past decade, you are now leveling up like never before with Uranus. The square representing the activation in Pisces that you sowed the seeds for are taking beliefs around your attitude that you have activated and are now integrating true habits that can sustain these beliefs. So be aware that any beliefs you have which don't align with these new routines must shift. And any habits you have that don't align with the integrity of mindsets you want to integrate must shift. The unlocking of your private home space in an effort to shift your comfort zone and feel more comfortable and authentic in your own skin will also, with the sextile, reflect how much more you can communicate this in the further and enlightened integration of your routine. Everything that in September will now harvest in the form of a real philosophical approach. And in December, in releasing old unconscious habits, now that you've secured these new ones. You stay blessed as always. Peace. Welcome, Aquarius, to your Venus and Gemini transit talk report. Venus will be falling into your 5th house of creativity, passion, talent, and undergraduate education as an Aquarius rising, aka high nobility, whether high king or high queen. As an Aquarius sun or moon, this will be making a 120 to 150 degree Leo signature angle to your sun and moon. This stimulates creativity. If you think Aquarius representing the mind of God expresses itself through the word of Gemini, given that you represent knowledge in its celestial and advanced capability, the vocabulary pool and your ability to put that into writing, words, and communication reflects the fun and creativity you have to vocalize and put thought to everything you know and to the knowledge of self. This is where Pluto, awakening humanity through you, the leader of the supernatural awareness and knowledge and science, which is a body of knowledge, is going to, in its trine to Venus and Jupiter in your 5th, link this awakening and rebirth of yourself into how much more creatively with Jupiter you will be expanding and leveling up your talents. Of course, the talent of expressing your knowledge through your creative words. Venus polishing these words so that you can have fun with what you say, how you say it, and with who you say it to. A very fantastic period over the rest of the year to work on creative projects that feed your inner child and to have fun with the way you communicate. This is where the 3rd house sextile of the North Node and Chiron and Mars, activating authenticity in your vocal tonality and actions which represent your mindset and attitude, which in Aries represents you trendsetting and people copying what you originated later, is going to, with the perspective of Gemini, take these skills you are originating and now develop the talent associated with these skills, adding more vocal enlightenment and clarity to the authentic nature of your attitude and mindset. Adjusting the perception through which you can see clearly through a raw and maybe vulgar expression of your attitude. The square that we're going to have with Saturn and Neptune in your 2nd house of finances, with Venus and Jupiter in your 5th house of creativity, is going to take the Imagineering around your ability to draw from your imagination and materialize what you're imagining, or to use the creative aspect of your imagination to manifest and, of course, to make money, into how you can polish the creativity necessary in order to integrate this value and express it, add value to it. And most importantly, add confidence. The beliefs about what you're worth will reflect into the truth of what you express. And any adjustment of perception necessary relative to doubts that Saturn limiting the 2nd house may arise must be adjusted, as if not to inhibit your creativity. And any perspective that you are creatively defining must align with the integrity of your beliefs around what you're worth so that they can be aligned properly. I hope you enjoy this transit. Welcome, Pisces, to your astrological transit talk for Venus and Gemini. Venus, as a Pisces rising, will fall in your 4th house of home, ancestry, and private issues, opposite the 10th house of career and public persona, as well as reputation and legacy. The truth, the 4th house hidden truth you will establish will in 6 months be shown the meaning of the shift of perspectives that enable you to come into the higher perspective of the meaning of success that you have accomplished. As such, Jupiter moving through this house as a Pisces rising will facilitate moves or renovation of your inner home. In the 10 years I've been reading astrology, that has been consistent regardless of who I spoke to. That has always consistently happened to them. And on top of that, as a Pisces sun and moon, these planets will be making a 90 to 120 degree angle to these points, further emphasizing the depth of shifting out of old comfort zones, as the activation of these points through Pisces, Aries, and Taurus now find integration through Gemini, Cancer, and Leo before you begin to harvest through Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. As you represent the point of collective universal beliefs, being an entity, never mind your identity, these beliefs you've activated since March now find their home in integrating a thought process with which can support these beliefs. Thoughts which may be hidden to everyone else but you. It's important that you do not poison these thoughts with negative thoughts so that you do not rest these beliefs about yourself on negative thinking, as that will not be a solid foundation. You want this perspective shift to break you out of old comfort zones, which will be somewhat uncomfortable, but also establish the right, true, enlightened thinking that can take new beliefs you've activated since March and April and break those seeds through the ground and understanding the truth about these beliefs. These truths you integrate will become real facts once we step into September and we are aware of the harvest of this integration in Virgo, with which in Sag you will see the final meaning of. The square that we will have in your sign with Saturn and Neptune transcending and adding authority to the belief of yourself is going to challenge whether these private thoughts you have within yourself behind closed doors and with people personal to you support who you believe yourself to be. Any perspectives from people in your family or private to you or within you that are not aligned with the integrity you have established of who you believe you are must adjust and shift. And any beliefs about yourself that don't align with these new ideas about the foundation you are establishing must shift. Your value in Aries with Chiron and Mars will sextile this 4th house position or 90-degree position to the sun and moon, so that you're in a position more than ever to create this true foundation that supports this unlocking of original value and wealth, so that you are more at home with what you're worth and are less likely to budge on that. Regardless, I hope you enjoy this transit. Peace. We will, of course, conclude this transit as Venus enters Cancer. Venus entering Cancer is going to apply not only the activation of your heart through Aries, Taurus, and Gemini to begin integrating through Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. But it will also apply the enlightened perspective of your heart through Gemini into the direction you will begin to take it in the Cancer. The thoughts activated will now be fueled into feelings and emotions. In the tarot, Venus in Cancer is the Two of Cups of mutual love and trust. So now that your ideas have been updated around how you want to approach relationships, it's time to now align your feelings into the direction that your ideas have pointed you towards. And that concludes this Venus in Gemini transit talk. I really do hope to hear your feedback. This is going to be a new model I'm going with, just to give you more of a snapshot style that you can have and hold with you and keep long after the fact, like a time capsule. Feel free to email me feedback. I feel like I might have been a little bit too long. I want to make these like 15 minutes. I didn't expect to go over 30 minutes. But let me know if you like that time. Once again, Venus in Gemini is going to fully enlighten your heart to show you the possibilities with which you can take relationships, both platonic and romantic. It's not the transit that will do this. It's you that will do this. But it's nice to know that this is the cycle happening in the sky while you make the free will choice to open up your heart and communicate everything that is true about what you desire and love. Y'all stay blessed as always. Peace.